Well, this is not going to be a very fun video for me to make. This is honestly kind of disheartening. So 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 this is gonna be this is gonna be different from most of my other movie reviews, because for the other reviews that I've done in the past, there was like some type of script and some type of order in which I would say things, and what I would talk about first and what I would talk about last. But this time, I'm doing this, I'm doing all this, completely off the top of my head, completely improvised, just completely unscripted. This is just me getting my raw emotions out about this movie. This is this is a rant. This video, is coming from the heart. It's coming from the heart, coming from somebody who is a big X-Men fan. I love the comics. I love the animated series from the '90s, and I really enjoy most of the movies. With the only ones that I don't like being X-Men: The Last Stand and X-Men Legends Wolverine. There's a lot of people out there who hate Apocalypse, but I personally don't really mind that movie. It's okay. It has a lot of problems, but I think it's okay. But then we get to this movie, Dark Phoenix, and Dark Phoenix is not good. It's not good, folks. I'm sorry. I'm honestly just sad. I'm honestly just sad and disappointed because I was really looking forward to this movie, because I was hoping that they would be able to deliver something of quality, and the hope that they could at least deliver on something, because this is the second attempt by 20th Century Fox and the X-Men franchise to adapt the Phoenix Saga from the X-Men comics, which is one of the best. That's one of the best comic book storylines of all time. So they first tried it with The Last Stand, which came out in 2006, I believe, and well, if you're an X-Men fan, if you're an X-Men or superhero fan like me, then you already know how that turned out. That wasn't very good. Although I don't think The Last Stand is as bad as other people might say, but it's still not good. So this is the second attempt at telling the Dark Phoenix story, a story which I love, and a story which was perfectly adapted in the animated series from the '90s. Like if you go back to the series and go back to the Dark Phoenix episodes, they did a really good job with that. They did a great job. But this movie, I never thought I would say this, but I would actually much rather watch The Last Stand than to watch this movie again, because and you know what, I'm just gonna say it. And you know what, I'm just gonna say it. This is just my own personal opinion. If you like this movie, then that is perfect. Then that's absolutely fine. If you like this movie, if you think that it was a good conclusion to the X-Men franchise, because this is very likely going to be the last. This is very likely going to be the last X-Men film until Disney decides to inevitably reboot it. But if you like Dark Phoenix, then that's great. But I'm sorry, I did not like this at all. It's the worst X-Men movie. Yeah, that's right, I said it. This is worse than X-Men Origins, worse than The Last Stand, and worse than Apocalypse. Yeah, that's right, I'm serious. They're just I can't even tell you how hard I was trying to like this movie, but there were just so many issues with this movie, like so many problems with the pacing, the writing, just the special effects, the character motivation, just everything. The things, a lot of things that just really set my teeth on it. So yeah, this gonna be one of those raw rant reviews. So strap in. Okay. So let's try to start off somewhat optimistic, because there are two positives to this movie. One is the score by Hans Zimmer. Like, Hans Zimmer delivered a fantastic musical score to this movie. Like the score and the music is absolutely beautiful, and you know, Hans Zimmer, as we all know, is one of the best. If not the best film composer working in the industry right now, and his score was great. His score was just great. I've been listening to the soundtrack nonstop, and it's beautiful. So that's one positive, and the second positive is the acting. Like you know, despite this movie's problems, you know, like the one thing, you know, the thing I can give it, you know, like all the actors, as you would expect them to, they all did a great or good job in their roles. Like as usual, Michael Fassbender. As usual, Michael Fassbender is fantastic as Magneto. Even though a big problem that I had with Magneto in this movie is that he was very underutilized, and that I felt like they didn't use him enough in this movie. But apart from that, Michael Fassbender was amazing. He was fantastic as usual. The Michael Fassbender, he's one of my favorite actors working today. So he's fantastic in pretty much anything he's in. And James McAvoy as well as Professor X. Like, to me, it's pretty much impossible for James McAvoy to be bad in a movie, since he's just amazing in pretty much anything. Like so he was great as Professor X as usual. Even though I didn't like the way that Professor X's character was written in this movie, but we'll get to that. But we'll get to that later. So those were the two standout performances for me. The two standout performances for me, and you know, like the acting all around in this movie, the acting all around in Dark Phoenix was actually pretty solid. But as far as positives go for this movie, that's honestly pretty much it. Oh crap, where do I even start? Okay, first off the character motivations. Like there are some things that some characters do in this movie, that are just completely out of character for them. Like the two primary examples of them being Professor X and Beast. Okay, so what Professor X does in this movie, the way this character is, the way that Professor X the way that Professor X is written in this movie is honestly just insulting. Like, you know, he's written to be like this bumbling idiot. He's written to be very, very egotistical, and nobody respects him in this movie. And there's one thing in this movie that he does in particular that honestly is just a really jerk move on Professor X's part. So basically, you know, he does a similar thing to Jean Grey in this movie that he did in the Last Stand. Because in the Last Stand, you know, Jean Grey had this personality, super powered personality going on inside of her. So, you know, Professor X and tried to suppress that and you know, protect people. You know, like that's actually way less of a jerk move than what he does in this movie. In this movie, Dark Phoenix, Professor X and where basically Jean Grey has a traumatizing experience, and then Professor X is like, you know, I'm just gonna suppress that in her mind. I'm just gonna suppress that with my powers in her mind and make her forget about that. Like, seriously, dude, you can't help her with her trauma. You have to suppress that. Like, if you have to do that, then how? Like, if you have to do that, then really, how qualified are you at your job? How qualified are you to be a teacher of, you know, of Young Mutants? That really puts your credibility and qualified status into question. So that was just a bad move, and even though James McAvoy did a great job as usual, you could tell that all the actors in this movie were really trying to work around the script that they were given. I love this performance, but you know, but the way his character was written was just bad, and also Beast. So basically what happens is, and by the way, there is gonna be some spoilers in this video. So if you haven't seen this movie, well, don't watch it. It's not good. So they just wasted my time. So I'm not gonna let them waste your time. Just don't don't watch this movie. So I don't care. I'm gonna spoil it anyway. Anyway, Jean Grey kills Mystique, and if you've seen the previous X-Men films, you know that Beast and Mystique, and they kind of had a bit of a thing going on. So Beast gets like really upset. Beast gets really upset and angry. So Beast goes to Magneto, who's now in hiding now hiding at some sort of camp or ranch that is exclusively for mutants. So he goes to Magneto and breaks to him the news that Mystique is dead, and Magneto and Mystique also had close ties. So Magneto gets very upset about that. But what happens next is that both Magneto and Beast they then both plot to go and kill Jean Grey. It's not just Mystique who wants. Sorry, it's not just Magneto who wants to kill Jean Grey as revenge for Mystique's death. Beast is actively joining him on the mission. Beast would wouldn't do something like that. That was just completely out of character for him. Also, the pacing and editing of this movie was also really bad because I'm not sure if you guys noticed, but because this was written and directed by Simon Kinberg. Now Simon Kinberg is prominently a writer and producer, but this is his first time in ever directing a film. This is his first directorial debut, and you can honestly really tell. Like, you can tell that he hasn't quite gotten good at directing dialogue scenes or directing action scenes or editing stuff together. You can tell that he's still working the basics of it all, but the pacing's bad. The pacing's bad. Like, this movie's only like an hour and a half, but it felt like 3 to me. The special effects. The special effects were pretty bad too. Honestly, the effects in this movie are not quite as bad as the special effects in X-Men vs. Wolverine, but honestly they're pretty close. Like there's one scene in particular with Storm near the end. Like, the CGI was so bad, it was so obviously bad that it just took me out of the movie. Like, I've honestly seen better visual effects in a YouTube fan film than in this movie. It's just astounding to me that this movie with a $100 million plus budget didn't seem to get that right. Let's see. Also, one thing I forgot to mention when talking about the acting, like, the only performance that I didn't like at all was Sophie Turner as Jean Grey. Sophie Turner is just not. She's just not that good of an actress. She's just not. Like, she just didn't really convey a lot of emotion. At least to me, that's just my opinion. As Jean Grey, that's just how I felt. Also another major problem with this movie is and heck, also a major problem with the X-Men franchise in general is that the timeline and continuity is just all messed up now. Like as I'm pretty sure we all know, when Days of Future Past came out in 2014, which was a great movie, which was fantastic, and by far one of the best installments in the X-Men franchise, but also kind of screwed things up, and when it comes to like the whole time travel timeline thing, because it retcons certain things, and now like entire films in the franchise are like no longer canon, and now you're not supposed to take the events of this film seriously. It's just gotten utterly confusing. It's gotten like so confusing. This whole timeline. Like if there's one franchise that is famous for not making any sense, besides the Terminator franchise, it would be the X-Men series. It would be this. Okay. Well, all right. What else can I talk about? Okay. What else can I talk? What else can I talk about here? Also, another thing. Also, another thing I want to point out. Another thing I want to point out. Quicksilver. Yeah. Also, another thing I want to point out. Quicksilver. Quicksilver. Quicksilver was completely wasted in this movie. Like, like for real, Fox, and like you're gonna take one of the best parts of both Days of Future Past and Apocalypse and just completely waste him and have him only show up in like 2 or 3 scenes, and his screen time totals to only like 5 or 6 minutes. Like seriously, like you remember that scene in Days of Future Past where where him, Magneto, and Xavier are breaking into like the Pentagon, and they make it into the Pentagon kitchen, and the security guards are there, and then things all of a sudden turn to slow motion. Puts his headphones in, runs across the walls, does some crazy stuff, and moves the bullets out of the way. It was an awesome scene, and by far one of the best scenes in that movie, and also in Apocalypse. Like, the best scene in Apocalypse by far, at least in my opinion, is the scene where Quicksilver arrives at the X mansion, and he sees the explosion happening, and he runs inside with a super speed, does some awesome stuff, and rescues everybody from the building, and then before the building just completely explodes. That was awesome. That was by far the best scene in the movie. But for some reason in Dark Phoenix we didn't get a cool slow motion Quicksilver scene. Like, come on, like like if they had like a cool slow motion Quicksilver scene in Dark Phoenix, like maybe that could have been enough to help me like forgive some of the other flaws in the movie. It would have added some more enjoyment factor in the movie. But no, they didn't have one. Like, why, Fox? Why would you waste one of the best parts of the previous X-Men movies? Why? Ugh, man. And also the action sequences. Like, a lot of the action sequences just they just didn't have any a lot of the action sequences, they didn't feel like they had and a lot of the action sequences didn't feel overly emotional. They didn't feel like they had stakes. Because these newer X-Men characters, like the younger versions, like Cyclops, Storm, like these newer characters, and like they've yet to been, they have yet to been, fully developed. So as a result, when something happens to them, we just don't really care. So the action sequences, apart from the ending, the scene on the train, which in all fairness, that scene was pretty cool. I would give the movie that. That scene was really cool. The final scene, that was cool. But apart from that, a lot of the action just didn't get a reaction out of me. I was just sitting there like, okay, this is happening. Okay, some spots are cool. That was basically my reaction throughout the entire movie. I don't know. So overall, this movie was honestly just super disappointing, because a ginormous disappointment, because I was really looking forward to this. I was hoping that they could deliver something of quality to really send off the X-Men franchise in a great way, but we got a mess. This movie truly is a mess, and it's honestly really sad that that this is the note that the X-Men franchise is going out on before Disney does their thing with it, because Disney recently bought Fox, and now they have the rights to both X-Men and Fantastic Four. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with them. But overall, this movie it's an absolute mess. It's an absolute mess. The writing sucks. The pacing sucks. The special effects are underwhelming. It's yet another failed attempt at adapting the Phoenix Saga, which is one of the greatest comic storylines of all time. And this movie is just really disappointing, and it's honestly really it's not worth your time. So I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 10 and no recommendation. So rest in peace to the X-Men franchise. We've had our ups with Logan and First Class, and we've had our downs with X-Men Origins and this movie. But overall, it's been a ride, and I'm really gonna miss I'm really gonna miss the good. I'm gonna miss the good X-Men movies. So yeah, this review was not really a fun one for me to. Not really a fun one for me to make since I am a big X-Men fan and I'm just beyond disappointed. So if you've seen Dark Phoenix, please don't watch this movie. It's not good. But if you've seen seen Dark Phoenix, let me know in the comments what you thought of it. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to my channel if you want to see some more cool content. So until then, I'm Eating Caps. I'll see you next time.